You know, there's nothing like cracking that cellophane and pulling that record out. It just smells great.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Non-stop hardcore energy.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
Unlike any other.
With your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Man, this stuff rocks.
Hey, this is Jeff Losawyer of Voodoo Moonshine, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Crank it up.
The views and opinions of the guests do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of BODS Mayhem Hour, its staff, affiliates, or sponsors. Parental discretion is advised. Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I am your host, John the Bod, aka the Bodfather, and as always, I'm bringing you guys and gals awesome interviews. But before I bring on our special guest today, I want you guys and gals to please get out on YouTube and go to BODS Mayhem Hour, click the subscription button, and click the notification bell, because that would help me out tremendously. And I know all these bands would appreciate it as well, because we've got a lot of great stuff coming up. But our guest today is going to be Jeff Losawyer of Voodoo Moonshine, a bluesy rock band currently from Florida, Georgia, was formed in Memphis, Tennessee in 2003 by lead guitarist Jeff Losawyer. And Voodoo Moonshine has completed their full-length sophomore album titled Bottom of the Barrel via Dark Star Records, which is out now. Also check out their debut single, and Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, Bring It Down, and new single Give It To Me. So check out that. See, I knocked that out of the ballpark for you, sir.
You got it right. You got it right.
How you doing, man?
I'm all right. How you doing today?
You know, I'm in Kentucky, eastern part, and just thankful that everything is getting back to a little normalcy, but I feel for these people who've lost everything.
Yeah, I've seen that. That looks pretty bad.
It is absolutely horrible. We're trying, man. We're resilient. You know, we're Eastern Kentucky folk. We help each other out, and we won't back down. So, you know, we're trying.
That's what you got to do.
So let's jump into this, my friend. How excited are you guys to have the sophomore album titled Bottom of the Barrel out right now? How excited are you guys for this? Because it's been a while.
I'm thrilled to have it out. You know, it took me 10 years to do this and get this CD done. Well, I had finished the CD 10 years ago and shelved it. You know, I went about a normal life. You know, I just wanted to complete it. And then, you know, some strange things happened. I started getting contacted by some industry people, you know, about 4 years ago. And I thought, well, hell, I think I need to get the band back together, because I was starting to get messages and stuff. So I'm super excited. I mean, it's all new songs to everybody else except me, you know, but I'm really happy that it's done. You know, we redid it, obviously, with my new singer, Pedro. He redid all the vocals, and, you know, it's done better than what I expected. I didn't expect, you know, we've had 3 songs on Billboard now. You know, we couldn't, with Bring It Down, we peaked at 201, you know, and then this one, as of, I believe yesterday, it's at 48. So it took right off at 71. So we're up for a lot of awards and stuff. I mean, it's just really odd, you know, it's none of it was expected.
So do you kind of feel, and I've said this in a couple of interviews, because I feel like you know, people's been knocked down and life happens, of course, but do you feel like this is a kind of a not a redemption, but a closure on this album, and then moving forward on as Voodoo Moonshine, if that makes sense?
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, so the CD came out in February, you know, after all those years, and we're already 6 songs into writing for the new album. You know, we're going to try to stay ahead of the game. You know, we just released the video for Give It To Me, 2 weeks ago, and we already have another one that's ready, and that'll be put out in, you know, a few months. So we're trying to stay ahead of the game so we can keep the momentum going. Looks like we'll go back into the studio and, you know, record 2 or 3, 4 songs in September, and, you know, try to stay it's easier to record and write and all that, you know, when you're in a home type setting as opposed to,
Yeah.
you know, in the bath on a tour bus or something.
Makes it a lot easier. That's a little difficult when you're touring and trying to record at the same time. It's like, you know, one thing at a time. But like you said, a lot of people got to stay ahead of the game just to make it
Yeah.
these days, and it's crazy.
I think, you know, yeah, about the redemption thing you said. I mean, it's what's really cool is you know, these awards. You know, we just won for Bring It Down, World Songwriters Association for Single of the Year. You know, and actually Saturday here in Sandy Springs, Georgia, we go to the ISSA, International Singers and Songwriters Association, the ceremony, because we're up for Song of the Year, Video of the Year, Album of the Year, and one other one. So 4 awards. And then in October, we're at the Josie Awards. We're up for Single of the Year and Video of the Year in Nashville. And I would have never thought that I'd ever step foot on the Grand Ole Opry stage, but that's where it's going to be. So it's pretty cool. That's the Songwriting Awards. You know, that doesn't do anything money wise, but it's really cool, you know, to know that that's looked at, you know, instead of, oh, you're just a rock band, you know, big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Just to be associated with that company, even to be nominated for that, I mean, it's just like, hey, that's all the proof I need to say that, hey, this is something that should have been done a long time ago. But thank God it's over.
Yeah. So that does, you know, it does make it worth the fact that it was, you know, a decade long process for me, you know, 10 years to get it all done and complete, you know, so it's something I got out of it, you know.
That had to be frustrating, and plus little fire inside to say, like, this has got to get out.
I guess it's I kind of just, you know, like I said, I was going through life, so it was just easy to put it aside and not think about it, you know, kind of like a smoker trying to quit smoking.
Yeah.
You know, just don't think about the cigarettes, you know. So it was pretty easy that way, you know. I wasn't longing for it every day. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I was content with the fact that I at least completed that version of it. And, you know, what happens next will happen when it happens, you know. So it's pretty weird. Everything's been kind of a fluke how things have happened in the last, you know, 4 years since I got all the new guys and us putting the CD and videos out.
I do want to step back here and ask you about this, because you said since the album came out earlier this year, the response has been kind of mind blowing for you. Did you think that this would catch on and grasp on and get as much validation as it has?
Nope. Not at all. You know, well, I mean, my main concern in the beginning was, you know, because the 80s was a kiss of death. Anyone that had that tag was a kiss of death nowadays. And you know, I come from the 80s. So I'm a guitar rock writer. And so I thought, man, we might get that again. And you know, I think when we revamped it and with what Pedro brought to it, you don't have that 80s feel. You know, it's, you know, tinged in it, but we kind of updated it, and it's current, you know. It's just guitar driven rock, you know, bluesy. I didn't expect, we haven't had a bad review, you know. And what I like the most is when, you know, people like you interview me, they tell me who we sound like to them, and every time it's different, you know. And they're not any horrible bands that they're comparing us to, you know. So I really like that everyone hears their own thing when they listen to it. So that means, I guess, our influences just are all over the place in it, you know. And I didn't think, you know, and we started low, you know, because when me and Pedro first got together, we put out Eden in Your Eyes, just an acoustic video. Small numbers, not promoted it, didn't do anything, you know. Then Locked and Loaded, and, you know, we got a good amount of numbers. Then we put out Bring It Down, and it shot up to like 165,000 views on which ain't setting the world on fire, but for us, it was great, and then whatever it did on Dark Star. So
Yeah.
getting on Billboard, I would have never thought of that at all, at all.
And
So it was,
that confidence for a young band like that, man, is just out the roof.
yeah, yeah. The guys, they just wait until they get an email or a group message about where we're at and what's going on with it now, and none of them can believe it, at all. Because I had to convince them all. Who the hell was I? Just some random guy getting a hold of them on Facebook. So I've had to convince them. So hopefully, I'm doing a good job at that so far.
I do want to talk about this a little bit because I thought this was pretty outstanding when I was checking all this out. Like 2006 saw the band's popularity continue to rise, and rock radio around the world stood up and took notice. You guys even charted in front of heavy hitters like Bon Jovi, Skid Row, Guns N' Roses, and the Scorpions. When that was going on, man, that had to be like, all right, this is good, but we don't need to let this go to our heads and get overzealous about this.
Well, it's good, but it didn't give us any money. I mean, It didn't give us the money that Guns N' Roses, Bon Jovi, and all those guys had. I mean, we're higher on the chart than a lot of huge, multi-platinum artists now. It's cool. I mean, it was cool that was happening, and especially then because, like I've said hundreds of times in these interviews, the whole business landscape was totally different then. We didn't have all the internet stuff. All that stuff was kicking off, but you didn't have the avenues that you have now. You can shoot something off now and be in Portugal, on the radio in 10 minutes. It was totally different then. You're snail mailing, sending stuff out and things like that. And a lot of those charts were new companies, so I think what I like the best about that is a lot of those charts were fan driven, people driven, not just some kind of critic, it was actually people, that listened to music, that liked us and played us more and requested us more. I always appreciate that more than just some critic who, just sits in a office reading and listening and then, critiquing and so to me, obviously at that time, because none of that was expected then either. We've never had any high. I've never had this expectation, ever since I left LA, that whole I'm going to be a rock star crap right out the window. Now everything's been kind of reasonable. Anything that happens, we appreciate it. And we have direction and drive and we try to get there, but we're not trying to force a square peg in a round hole. Any little thing that happens, we appreciate it. So any charting, any of that, we love it. It's all resume, doesn't thicken the bank account, but I think if we were trying to get rich at this business, we'd have been out a long time ago,
All right, Jeff. So what back in the day if social media was there and the internet was booming at that time? Do you think it would have helped the band more, or do you think it might have even hurt the band more because of the whole national scene?
I just did an interview about an hour ago and that was brought up. It's a good thing and a bad thing because they asked what the difference was between audiences over there as opposed to here. Well, in America, we have, I think the fans have just thousands of options with bands, and maybe not so much in, say, Germany, so they kind of flock to you if you're an American band, so with the internet, obviously it's a good thing we can get all our stuff over there immediately. Well, the internet's flooding them now with all these bands, so competition's bigger, kind of like out in LA at the time. I think that it would have helped tremendously back in the day, but we would have had a whole lot more competition, so I'm glad the way everything's happened. I'm not my breaks in between the CD, me taking off, me leaving the industry, me not doing anything, I'm fine with it. And I think it helps us appreciate it now that we're older. Anything that happens is a good thing, because really we're our shelf life has exceeded, and then we have a new life now. The and that's one thing that's never changed about the industry. It's driven for 20-year-olds. Those are the ones that have the biggest chance to become successful. So we're happy and lucky that we're doing it at the age we're at right now.
I gotta ask this though: when you took time off, and the album was doing pretty good at that time, did you just needed to recharge? Did you just need a break to say, "Hey, I just want to step away for a little bit"?
No, man. I hadn't been back. I'm from Oklahoma, and I hadn't been back home since '97, and in 2009, my grandmother had gotten ill and diagnosed with a brain tumor. So I went home to see her, before she passed away. And while I was there, within, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, my girlfriend passed away. Our original bass player passed away,
Gee.
and about three other people passed away with all in a couple of months, and it sucked. So I was out in the country in Oklahoma and staying on 10 acres, and I started writing these songs that I was going to play all the funerals, and I had a manager at the time, and he got it to some small label, and they wanted to put it out, and I said, well, I really don't want to, but if all the proceeds go to Cancer Society or something like that, well, I'll do it. And I think that then writing those songs and recording them got me in the mode to write again the second album. I needed a break, obviously, from the business, from the first CD and the band. But it was kind of, I didn't have any choice. And I'm glad that all that tragedy hit when I had the ability to take off, because I ended up staying back home for 2 years in Oklahoma. It was a totally different life. Everything was slower. It was a horrible situation, but I had the ability and the room to breathe. It wasn't just go, go, go. And I think that going through that and then catching my breath and gave me a little bit more life to it.
And I hate to describe it as this, but it's kind of like a bring you back home situation, bring you back to earth situation in a way. And I don't mean that in any disrespect at all to any of those that you've lost. But it's kind of one of those things like where it's like, oh shit, you need to calm down.
Yeah. Since I've been playing since I was young, I immediately, like I said, I went to LA, at 17 or 18. And, so I was never home, never around the family. I'd come home for a little while, and then be gone again for years and years and not see anybody. Just like now. Now I haven't been back since I left in 2011. So something I always have to go back for something. And, it's a weird thing to go back, because it seems like every time I go back, it's some tragic event, and that's probably why I stay away so long.
Yeah, I understand.
But I do like going back and, seeing my family again and stuff.
So you heard Pedro Espada singing in a YouTube video, and you took a chance on reaching out to him to sing on some of your songs, man. Was you a little nervous reaching out to him and just hoping he would respond back? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, yeah, because the reason for me to reach out to him in the first place was I got reached out to by, a well-known manager at the time and then a well-known producer. And I thought, man, this is bullshit. This is social media. Everyone can have a double life and, filters and nonsense and a big story that's not true.
Yeah.
Come to find out that it was true and legitimate that I was dealing with. Well, so when I approach him, he's thinking the same thing. Who's this guy? He could be full of shit too.
Yeah.
So he blew it off, for a while, and because I messaged him after I'd seen a couple of videos, and he's like, "Who's this guy?" Finally he responded, and we started discussing, the songs and what I wanted and what I was looking for, and I told him, I got this album, and obviously I don't want you to sing like this guy. If I wanted you to sing like him, I'd try to get him back. You have all the room to do what you want with it, and see what you think. And he liked the songs enough that he said okay, and everything's kind of blown up ever since. He took a long time to do the album. Luckily, COVID destroyed and stopped the whole world and messed a lot of things up, but we weren't a working band. We were working on getting this done and getting business in order, so it didn't really affect us. So that gave him the luxury of taking time to get it done the way that we both wanted it. But yeah, I think I've convinced him finally, that I'm not I am some crazy guy, but I think I've convinced him that they may have made the right choice.
What led the song "Bring It Down" to be the first track released off Bottom of the Barrel? What was it about that song? That has to be called "Swinging" first.
Well, technically, it wasn't the first single. It was the first single with Dark Star Records as our distributor. First single that we put out was Locked and Loaded. That was the first video we did. And we were with Curtain Call Records at the time. Bring It Down just blew up out of nowhere. Like I said, I had this album written, the music and the lyrics, years and years ago. Bring It Down was another song. It was a song called Bloody Money when I originally wrote it. And he hated the lyrics. So Pedro wrote lyrics to two songs, and one was Bring It Down and Rise Free off the album. And it came out so great that I loved it immediately, So we decided to do that video next. And it just come out that way. Everything we planned and expected, there's always something fluky about it, and it kind of diverts it this way, and we'll make another choice, which is what happened with Bring It Down. And it's been the better option every time. It's kind of like it guides itself,
So, are there any tracks that didn't make this new album that we can see on another EP or, the next album, possibly?
Well, it won't be on the next album, but, I'm constantly keeping everything. But yes, there was one song he hated on there that I love still, but he hated it. It was called Calling All Dogs. That one didn't make the cut. So, right now, we're collecting all our DVD footage, and I've got all the outtakes and the extras and all that. So we're hoping after this next album, around that same time, we'll be able to put out like a box set and a DVD and all that stuff. Nice. So that'll be an extra, like a fan club option. But yeah, I'm that guy, man. I got a big storage cabinet full of old videos and songs and stuff, and I'm just stockpiling it.
That's good though. I like hearing stories like that, because never let any of that shit go, throw it away or anything, because eventually you'll be like, there's an old riff I had from like 5 years ago that fits this perfectly. I
still have micro cassettes from when I was 16, and it'll say guitar riff, and I keep all that stuff. And actually, I mean, it's weird. Some of the songs that we're going to put on the next album, we just come up with Pedro just come up with the lyrics for an acoustic song called the Winner, and I wrote that music back in '92 when I was going to submit to to go to Berkeley Music School.
Oh wow!
And Locked and Loaded on this album is from the first album. It's an outtake that we redid because we were one song short for this album, and all the song files for the first album on our external drives, my house got broke into. They stole the external drive. My singer's house got broke into in Minnesota, and they stole it. So we had no files. Well, I happened to find a disc, and I had sent it to Pedro, and I forgot about it. And we were 9 songs into the album, and he said, he's like, "Do you got the lyrics to Locked and Loaded?" I'm like, yeah. I sent them to him, and 2 days later, he sent me the song back. He said, that's song 10. Now I'm done. And that's how that song ended up on the album. It's such a fluke. And you know what's even weird? This week, my singer had moved from Minnesota. My original singer moved back to Oklahoma. When he was moving, he come across his hard drive and found that hard drive, and he just sent it to me this week with the files to the first album.
Oh man!
Guess what though? The files are corrupt. I have to have it sent off to have it retrieved and all this, but I still have it. So it's there's no pattern to anything. I mean, some of these songs are old, some of them are new. I mean, it's just whatever works, whatever we like, we do. At this point, and at the age of our that we're at now, what we're doing is self-serving. I mean, it's what's going to make us happy, and luckily, people have actually liked it. Because like I've said over and over again, all we have is the songs. That's all we'll have left at the end of it. So we're not going to try to chase what's hot and happening at the time. We're just going to do what we do, and luckily, people have dug it.
I love hearing those backstories like that, man, because you can see like the birth of the song, the infancy to childhood to adulthood, and the changes that it went through. I love hearing stuff like that because some of these songs are meant to be, and there's some of these songs that are just like that came out of left field. We had no clue that was going to be there. So
Yeah,
awesome. I love hearing those, man. For you though, any track standing out more to you than any right now on this album? I know these are your baby. I know that. I mean, they stuck with you forever.
Oh, I can't stand these. 10 years, I can't stand listening to these bitches now. No, well, yeah, there's a couple that I just actually Give It to Me. I'm not a fan of Give It to Me anymore until we did this video. Now it's got new life to me, because now I see the story that I come up with for the video, and so it's totally different. But listening to it so long, it's like, oh man, it's like hearing Sweet Child of Mine again and again and again on the radio. It's like, oh my God, please.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think, still, for me, my favorite song still is probably Bring It Down, because it's just airy. But I think What a Way to Go, which will be the next video. I think that's probably the best song I've written musically, technically, and that will take me out of, he writes about sex and blowjobs up to a new level. He actually writes cool songs, and he's an actual musician, so I love playing that one. But man, I'm excited about a couple of these new ones that Pedro wrote, that he sent me the singer version, trying to play a guitar, those songs that we've already worked up. There's a new one that's called Be My Honey. I'm already seeing as the first single,
Or Jeff's going to be like, I'm done with this album. Let's move on. And then Pedro's going to be like, man, now we got to go sing these live. And Jeff's going to be like, what the fuck?
Pretty much. No, but it's really cool because it's totally different when we're doing it live. I mean, we haven't done a whole lot of shows since right before the album. I mean, COVID hit. Yeah. So we did a few festivals up north last summer. We played with Texas Hippie Coalition, and we did a show with Saliva, and we had a couple of nightmare shows where my guitar's going out of tune and just pissing me off to no end and screwing up the show. I think we got those out of the way, I hope. But it's a totally different feeling, than playing it along with a CD or a rehearsal, because you have to wing and see what happens, go through put out the fires, be a fireman,
Was there a track on this album that you were working on that totally ended up sounding what it was intended to, man? Was there one that just kept changing, or did they all change a lot?
What is weird is the song that I went in to record, that I didn't have anything other than the vocals and a guitar track. So our drummer at the time, Lonnie, he ended up going and playing with Every Mother's Nightmare, I think, Black Oak, Arkansas. I didn't have any. It was an acoustic thing, and I'm like, okay, man, grab a bar stool, you grab a bass case, and just start thumping on it. So we just did it in the studio, and that was probably the weirdest song that ended up nowhere near what I expected it to be, but still came out cool. And the songs all came new in a different life once Pedro sang them. It gave me, the voice I don't have through him to hear other things, to add different vocal harmonies and say, we need to do this way and, or do this here. So they all kind of went a different route than what I thought. And obviously from the original recordings.
So has Pedro lit that fire back in you again? That's gave you that excitement to write and play music again?
Well, yeah, because he's an incredible musician. That guy can play bass like Flea. He plays guitar. A 5-octave singer, good-looking guy. Can't stand him. It's ridiculous, But no, yeah, and the guy he writes. It's weird. All the guys that know him and have been in bands with him. They're like, he's never joined another guy's band. It's always been his band. So that makes me feel good that he actually, saw enough of me and us to join. He has his way of working. I'll give him something and I might not hear nothing back. And then out of the blue, I'll hear something back, 2 weeks later with it.
Yeah.
We'll get in there like a couple of weeks ago when I went down there to rehearse, and we'll just, work it out right there. But it is cool to collaborate because for so long it's been just me, writing and hearing the idea and fighting myself with it, and I'll send some shit that I think's a masterpiece and he'll go, yeah, okay, so I guess that means no. So yeah, it's good to have someone to write with and to bounce things off of.
Was this album produced in-house, or where was it actually produced at, and who produced it?
Well, parts were recorded in England.
Oh,
it ended up being vocals ended up being recorded in Sanford, Florida, and then Sean Shannon ended up mixing it down in Oviedo, Florida. Pedro did all his vocals in his studio at his house. We got them, Sean got them, mixed them up. And when it came time, then I went down there and overseen it and made changes, and we did it there. Sean Shannon's incredible. He's already slated for the next album. He's a drummer that he used to play with Pat Travers and Molly Hatchet. And guy's got an ear, man. He's amazing.
And it's so good to work with somebody who gets the band and knows exactly what they're looking for or the direction that they need to be pushed in. And they just don't know, but he does it for them.
Yeah. And, he came in at the end of the project too, just like Pedro, just like Eddie, just like Hector, because this is something I already had done. We've made our stuff, but he wasn't there at the ground floor. And this time he wants to be immediate. We've already sent him demoed songs and he wants to produce everything. He wants to be that guy to go, oh, well, I hear an A note on a keyboard holding that right there. He wants to be a part of it, which we trust him enough now to do that. Pedro's always written and controlled his stuff, me the same. Now we want another guy that'll bring in some more, and hopefully make it even better,
What's the growth musically you've seen from yourself working on this new album from Decade of Decay, or just your music in general, man? Well, what have you seen that's grown from you personally as a musician that you never thought would actually grow?
Oh, leaps and bounds musically. Yeah. The Decade of Decay was, it was for what it was, it was just rock, nothing special. You know what I mean? They're good songs there. I think the reason it's probably not as good is because I produced it and I did a horrible job. It would probably be better if it was remixed, which is what I want to have done eventually, and re-release it. Musically, I think, aside from the typical, sex songs, I think musically I've gotten a lot better. I've grown. It's not your standard verse, bridge, chorus, verse, bridge, solo chord, type situation. Although that formula works, so we want to be able to do that. And I've told the guys, I said, look, Eagles, Zeppelin, and Queen, that's who we want to be. If we want to play a polka, then let's do a polka.
Yeah.
You know, you want to do country, let's do it. Let's do rock. I don't really want to. I want every song to be different. Just like I said, every guy that's interviewed us says, "Oh, you sound like Buck Cherry." I know you sound like Whitesnake. You said, you know what I mean? I want that wide range in us to be able to do whatever we want. I've got a couple of piano songs that I've written that are probably 5 years old that I'm still not done with, but I'd love to have that on there. You know,
Sure.
and if we decide to be thrashy on one song, let's do it. You know. Pedro's really into jazz. Or Hector he's in a real heavy maideny type cover band. And me, I'm getting older, man. I'm a singer-songwriter era guy. I just bought a Yacht Rock CD the other day with Seals and Crofts on it, you know, and that's the stuff I like, you know. So I think with all our stuff, there's no telling what we'll write, you know.
Hey, it's like I've always said, man, and I tell everybody this and they look at me like I'm crazy. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, man, we're not inventing the wheel here.
Exactly. Nobody is. Right.
No, we just want to try to put our own hubcap on it, you know, really. That's it.
Put your staple out there, and then when somebody comes across and they hear the music, they're like, hey, that's Voodoo Moonshine. They'll know exactly who it is. You know, everybody's got their little piece in this revolving wheel music that we call it. So it's a beautiful thing. There's all kinds of good stuff out there.
Well, I think it's going to be real noticeable now is because of Pedro's voice. I mean, by no means am I Steve Vai. I don't want to be. I mean, you can only go so far being a noodler. You know, it's the song that lasts forever, and that's what I want to be known for as a songwriter. You know. But I think now everyone can, once they hear Pedro's voice, they'll know it's him, you know.
What do you hope everyone takes away while listening to the new album, Bottom of the Barrel, Jeff? What do you hope they get from it, my man? What do you get? What do you hope they get from it?
Well, I hope they like it. I hope they enjoy it. I hope they forget about any issues they have in their life or whatever pissed them off that day or whatever broke their heart, you know. I hope it's their therapy for 45 minutes, you know, because I know when I listen to stuff, I don't want to. That's why I'm not into political bands, man. If I wanted to get into that, I'd watch the news, you know. So we want to write to let you forget about it for a little while. So, you know, I hope it just brightens their day, you know, no matter what song it is.
I got to know this though, man. You had a lot of music when you were growing up, and you still have a lot of music today that you go back and listen to. Not specifically Voodoo Moonshine, but I mean other bands that you like. Do you still have a go-to album or a song that you find yourself going back to and listening to from time to time? It's like you can't kick it out; you have to go back and listen to it eventually.
Man, you know, I didn't realize how much of that crap my mother played when I was a kid. That actually was sinking in, you know, Peaches and Herbs, Seals and Crofts, you know, and unfortunately it was the disco era, but the Doobie Brothers, man, I love the Doobie Brothers, Jim Croce, you know, we're thinking about doing a remake, and we've actually laid a track for I Got a Name. I think I always go back to the Eagles, you know, their greatest hits, the Eagles, or Van Halen 1. It's one of those two, you know.
Jim Croce. Love Jim Croce. Operator.
That dude, man, he could tell a life story in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that takes skill. I mean, it just amazes me. I'll listen to him, and you know, and I've brought him to like Pedro or my last singer, and they're like, "That's hokey, man." He's singing about frogs and toads and shit. What is that about? I'm like, listen to the words, you shallow singer, you know, because it amazes me that within a short period of time, that dude could write a whole life story in one song, you know. And the thing with me is, you know, I usually write songs regardless of if it's a heavier song or not on acoustic. You know, this band, when I originally thought of it, was campfire songs, acoustic and vocals, just back porch boogie, you know? And so to me, if you can pull off just a guitar and a vocal and you sound good,
yeah,
did your job. Because it doesn't take nothing to have a wall of Marshalls, loud ass drums, and all that, and effects to sound decent. But if it's just you and that guitar and you pull it off, you got something then.
Dude, I have said that for years. I have said if you can actually take a song that you recorded and play a live acoustic set, and you play those songs not exactly, but you add your own twist acoustically to, you know, when you do your acoustic set for those songs and you knock it out of the ballpark, you could tell right then and there when a true musician is absolutely singing and playing the guitar correctly. Because I know a lot of them just phone it in, and I'm not knocking nobody on that. Hey, that's what you want to do. That's totally fine. But you know, it's like when I hear, man, Divine Harris, I'm going to throw this out there, Closure. They did a heavy song called Closure, and I think Tommy Vex sung on it. But the acoustic version, man, oh my God, his voice and that acoustic was just, it sends chills up me, man. There's some songs that I hear from my album, the acoustic version, it does that to me. It sends chills up me because the acoustic version, and I'm not knocking you, Bane. It's like that's just like, oh my God, that's like I would rather hear the acoustic than the actual song from the CD for some reason. I guess it's just the tone of the song and how they're singing and presenting it, but so damn good.
Well, there's more emotion in it. You have to sing it properly, or you're going to sound like shit. People are going to tell. So you have to feel it. You don't just scream it, you know. And we just a few months back we did an acoustic video of I think 5 or 6 of our songs, and it was really cool because it was, we even did Locked and Loaded and Bring It Down, all the songs that are guitar driven, loud, and Pedro pulled them. That guy, man, honestly, when we rehearse, he'll rehearse. If I go down there, he'll rehearse like 1 day out of 4 with us. We don't want him to blow his voice, but man, he does not screw up. His pitch is always perfect. He's always, the dude's real professional. And it makes my life a lot easier as I have to babysit. I don't have to deal with bullshit,
Yeah.
Doesn't drink, don't do drugs, don't do, and it's pretty amazing. It makes my life a lot easier,
Folks, you want to get out and check out Voodoo Moonshine. Their sophomore album titled Bottom of the Barrel is out via Dark Star Records. You want to get out and pick that up. So, Jeff, my friend, how can folks stay in touch with you guys? Buy this album, everything that comes down the pipe for Voodoo Moonshine. How can you do that, my friend?
VoodooMoonshineRocks.com. You can find us anywhere on the web, but if you go to VoodooMoonshineRocks.com, you can get t-shirts, hoodies, hats, mouse pads, lanyards, pick packs. Merchandise keeps money in our pockets, so we have a lot of merchandise. You can buy all kinds of stuff. We update any of the shows. We'll update them as they happen, but you can find out everything you need there.
And I will have all the links in this interview when I post it too, so that way people can find it very simple and they can't say, well, I don't know where it's at. It's in the interview.
Yep.
Watch it. Hey, man, before I let you go, would you care to do a promo for my show?
Sure, no problem, man. Hey, this is Jeff Losawyer of Voodoo Moonshine, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour. Crank it up.
Everybody stick around. We got some great stuff coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour. Get out and check out our Facebook page. There's our podcast link and YouTube link. And please subscribe to that YouTube link and click that notification bell because it's going to help me out tremendously, folks. I've got a lot of good stuff coming up for you guys and gals out there. Please also get out and check out Voodoo Moonshine. Pick up this new album. You won't be disappointed. Bottom of the Barrel via Dark Star Records. And I also want to say I'm affiliated with Metal Inc., also Forum Obscure, which is an online magazine that does album reviews and has obscure art in it. And my 2 buddies, love them to death, Josh and Dan at Diary of the Madman, the Ultimate Ozzy Osbourne podcast. They know more about Ozzy than Ozzy knows about himself, and Ozzy really needs somebody that knows stuff for him because he needs the help. But we love Ozzy. We love Ozzy. It doesn't matter. Jeff, my friend, thank you so much for doing this interview, and I wish you nothing but the best of luck, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man.
You're
listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.